Welcome to Bike Life Radio from KWNK 97.7 FM from the Reno Bike Project, NevadaBike.org and BikeWashoe.org. We ride our bikes out into the world with a recorder and talk to people about their bikes and their lives. I'm Kai Plascon. Ride on. You're listening to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM. We're talking to Jeff from down the hill in Sacramento. No, Sacramento
Valley.
Yeah, Sacramento
Valley, but Davis, California.
In Davis, California. Yes, Sacramento Valley. But we're not in either of those places. We're not in Reno either. We're in where?
I believe we're across the country in Washington, D.C., this beautiful community that has got a lot going good for it in the realms of bicycling.
Yeah. Oh, and we've been on a protected path for a long way, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of changed conditions a couple times. I'd call some of it sidewalk, but it's a designated bike route, so I'm sure it's used by lots of folks to get around, and it seems like a heavily used transportation network, which is always cool to be part of.
Uh-huh. Anything interesting happen over the past year in Davis?
We've done a couple big things with our local Caltrans district where we've added some things to our campus, new connections over our highway, adding a protected cycle track, and some signalized controls that are really cool, kind of matching some of our growth on the periphery of our campus. I can really speak mostly about the campus things because that's my role where I work for the university. We still deal with a lot of abandoned bikes. We are working on education that kind of discourages students from doing that. Because right now we're at about capacity where we handle some, I think, 1,800 to 2,000 bikes a year.
And what do you do with all of them?
We sell almost all of them back out at public auction. So we do monthly auctions via this service called Gov Deals. Super awesome. We sell most bikes starting at $5, and they typically sell for auction price somewhere in the average pricing of $18.
Wow. All right.
One thing to note is they are all abandoned bikes, so many of them are in bad repair. So it's not an $18 operable bike, it's an $18 project that you need to bring to a bike shop and might cost you a couple $100s to make whole again if you're not familiar with how to do it yourself. But knowing how to do bike repair is an invaluable skill. I advocate everyone go visit your local bike collective, learn some really valuable skills that will help you, your friends, your neighbors, really build a beautiful community who can help you make biking better, like what we're doing here at the Bike Summit.
Yeah. So in Reno, that's the Reno Bike Project, which owns KWNK 97.7 FM. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. And so...
That's a no-way thing. I did not know that. That's so cool.
Isn't it rad?
That is so
rad. A bike shop that owns a radio station.
And are y'all
FM
or low-power FM?
Yeah, KWNK 97.7 FM.
97.7. That's a high-power station there.
No, it's low-powered.
Hey, low power is beautiful. I have to do a call-out for KDRT 95.7 in Davis, California, our local low-power FM station.
Do they do any bike stuff?
They have a couple local programs that kind of focus on, local issues, and there's an often thread where people there will pick up some of the biking things that we need to bring to city council. I've explored some of my own explorations of how I want to be a radio host.
Uh-huh.
Thus
you should.
Thus I know how to do the radio calls and everything.
We're talking about doing a virtual how to do a radio show for the league, virtual session.
Oh, that'd actually be a really cool thing to share with a lot of folks. Because, I think one of the best things about this, too, is it can bring this kind of material out to folks where they least expect it,
Yeah.
Sitting in traffic, navigating your dial, being like, wait, what are these doing? People talking about bicycling.
We've been struggling with what to do with Burning Man bikes, that need repair. And an auction is good, but there's got to be, you tell people to take their bike to the collective, right? And then many of them must not. So do you end up recovering a lot of them anyway again, or what?
The only time I've seen a bike come back is pretty rare.
Hold on a minute. We have to go around a truck. We're riding our bikes while interviewing on Bike Life Radio, and there's a lot of obstacles. So, all right. So they rarely come back.
Yeah, they really rarely come back. I think a lot of the folks who are buying them from us are folks who focus on recovery and redistribution. So they're repairing them to sell them out, or a lot of folks are coming from church group or refugee organizations where they'll buy them in mass and then bring them into their community where they can help put them under the folks who need them the most. Really inspiring. A lot of my clients who buy them are fascinating folks who, I only know the brief interactions that I have with them via the phone via email and when they pick up their bike.
Where did you get this idea?
For us, it's actually a state law.
What? A state law that you have to auction shitty bikes?
It's the it's the fact of it. It's abandoned public property, so we have to follow a civil code that says we'll hold on to it for 30 or 90 days, depending upon its quality. Quality meaning its fiscal value, and after that, we have to sell it out at a public auction. After it sells or does not sell at public auction, if it doesn't sell at public auction, we're free to do with it as we wish. But at $5 a bike, we sell almost every single bike. No matter the condition, even just a pile of parts is worth $5 for a lot of people.
Wow. I wonder if we have a law like that in Nevada, which would mean that if the bikes are abandoned in Nevada, then Burning Man would have to keep them for 30 days and then auction them.
I'm sure there's something either in the BLM agreement that they operate that event on, or BLM's land management policy its own. But what I know about the desert is it's a leave no trace space. Yeah. It's wilderness. So the people who leave them are those who are responsible. So don't want to advocate saying it's our Black Rock community who is responsible for it, but I would probably say, if my understanding's right, it's their fault, not anyone else's.
Yeah, definitely. You're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM. We're talking to Jeff from Davis, California. Runs a what is your title there?
So I'm the active modality manager at UC Davis.
And how long have you been doing that?
A little over 4 years now. So I joined campus there in December 2019, and it's been a wild ride. The world had a pretty big shift in March of 2020, and so I've navigated a lot of new climate on campus as we deal with a lot of remote work and the disappearance of students and the students coming back. But yeah, it's been a really good ride. I'm happy to kind of be someone who gets to work at such a premier university who's known for bicycling. I really feel responsibility as the steward of the bike community that is happening at UC Davis.
They call you the Bike Zar.
I identify as a bicycle pirate.
That's better. So what would you say has changed since the pandemic then? Was there something that was prevalent before and now is prevalent afterwards in terms of bikes?
I think the biggest thing I would say is it's the variety of devices that we're seeing. It's not necessarily bikes as much as it is. We have a lot of students who are showing up on scooters, a lot of really cheap e-bikes, things that are hard to repair, and we're seeing a lot of those that become abandoned, or a lot of them that are just being operated in dangerous ways. Because I think there's not great education in any of this space, actually. We don't tell anyone who rides a bike how to ride a bike often. I know we are here as advocates right now talking about a lot of these things, but there's no such curriculum for someone to ride a scooter.
Yeah. And we were just talking about that. That here at the National Bike Summit in Washington, D.C., we went to visit members of Congress from our respective states and talk about a bike education bill mandating education or permitting education in schools, right? Using some grant funds.
Yeah, I believe it was asking for a specific ability to allocate some of the federal money that goes into some federal programs or schools to be applied for bike education. As without that specific call out, it's not something that I think is otherwise possible.
Yeah. What's interesting about that is that we were talking in Reno about how those funds could have been used in the past, because we had these instances where the police were doing like special events to issue tickets, and they stopped doing that, holding these special events to issue people tickets on bikes who were running red lights. But to teach people at a young age instead of issuing tickets in an old age is a good idea.
I believe in being proactive, not reactive.
Yeah. Good idea. All right. Listen to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I want to really just talk about, is one of the biggest things that I love about bikes is what we're kind of doing right now. We're on our bikes, we're riding, we're amongst a community, and we can do this when we're on our bikes. You could do this walking, you could do this on public transit, and you can do this on a bike, but you cannot do this in a car. So if you've never really thought about how you can be more active and how you get around, think about biking, thinking about walking, and really just thinking about how you can get yourself out of the reliance on driving your car everywhere you go. There's a beautiful world out there, and I want to share it with more people, so please join me on riding bikes.
Sweet. Jeff from UC Davis. We're listening to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. We'll be right back. Before there were bikes, there were only feet, horses, and piggyback rides. Then 3,500 years ago, people in modern-day Iraq invented the wheel. Fast forward 3,000 years and people decided to have a bike week, and now there's Bike Month in May, and soon there may be 2 bike months. But let's not jump too far ahead into the future. May is Bike Month. That's now. Honor the past. You are the future. Make it a bike-tastic day by participating in Bike Month today.
The fish needs a bike.
Oh, the Harvard mountain bike team?
This is Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM, and I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. We're talking to Forest Briscoe. You like what you?
Right on.
Yeah, you need one too. You need a Briscoe go. Right?
A handle?
Just go.
A slogan.
Yeah. Yeah, a slogan. Yeah.
Go Cavers, San Diego High School, class of 1991.
No, the reason why Forest Briscoe is saying that is because we haven't seen each other in 32 years, and he drove down to Baltimore, and I rode up to Baltimore, and we met each other and had lunch, and we're reconnecting. But Cavers is where we went to, and San Diego High School is where we went to school, right?
Yeah. I wonder if they're still the Cavers.
I think so. I don't think they're allowed to change that, but I don't know. There's no. We're not being disparaging by calling cavers, right? Like rather than Neanderthals or.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went to, when the last time we saw each other was when you went off to college, and I was still at San Diego High School, but you went off to college and did something special with bikes, didn't you?
Well, I think, we were into mountain biking in high school, but it was not a big sport. So when I got to Harvard, I found a couple guys who were kindred spirits. We just loved tooling around on our bikes, which we started doing in downtown Boston in the middle of the night. Like bouncing up and down the stairs in front of some government buildings in downtown. But then we decided, we heard actually, I think UNH had a mountain biking team. University of Vermont had a mountain biking team. So we started thinking about there should be a Harvard mountain biking team. And so, 2 guys, I think it was Dumisani Banda, a guy named Wes Sipe, and myself started this team, got a little money from the administration, and went up north into New England for our races. Needless to say, we were not not pulling first places, but we were having fun. Let's say it was an emerging sport at the time. And, that was back before, I think, rock shocks. Like, you could have front suspension, but there was no dual suspension to speak of, and the fastest bikes just didn't have any suspension. So we were going around. I think that's probably what wrecked my back, to be honest, was the Harvard mountain biking team. But I don't remember. I remember we made shirts to race in.
Like you painted them with a pen, or
no? we there was some place in Mass Ave in Harvard Square that made our shirts for us. So.
Oh wow, that's advanced.
They were like our sponsor. I think they did it for free.
Oh, you were sponsored by the T-shirt company.
Yeah, that was as far as our sponsorship went. It wasn't Nike.
Do you have a bike story that you remember from over the past 30 years that you'd like to share on Bike Life Radio?
During college, and then right after college, I went out to Colorado, and I actually acquired a bike from a woman who was like a ranked racer out there. So I was really psyched to get this Trek aluminum, like 6,000. I still remember the frame. It was an awesome frame. But no suspension, so it was hardtail. And I was racing out there quite a bit. And I remember my parents were able to come to a race at Winter Park. And I was like in peak shape. Thought I was gonna, place in this race. And basically the race went all the way up the ski area and then down the ski area. And just as we turned for the down portion, we came around a corner and I hit a root and like flew over the handlebars, dislocated my shoulder, and I was in front of a big pack who all basically piled onto me. And so of course, like the medic, my shoulder didn't pop back in, and the medic who came up on a four-wheeler wouldn't relocate it till there was an x-ray. And of course it was a Sunday in the Winter Park area, which there's no town there, so you had to call this doctor to get this x-ray, and meanwhile bounce me down the hill on the back of this four-wheeler, which was excruciating. So basically my parents, came all the way out to see me race, and then had to sit and watch me for about it must have been like 2 hours till the doctor came out and did the x-ray with my shoulder popped out.
Yeah, and then he did the x-ray and said, yep, we need to set it, right? And then they did it.
Yeah, then they just, the routine to pop a shoulder back in.
Not really, but it must have been frustrating to have to go through all of that.
Yeah, basically distract the person and then shove them really hard.
Yeah.
And then it pops back in.
You study businesses and their reactions to social activities and activism. Have you seen anything bicycle related? Anybody reacting to bicycle activism? Ever? And if the answer is no, it's okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, being in a college town, we had for years in State College, where Penn State is, we would have that take back the streets. I forget what it was called, but we would all ride really slowly down the main drag on our bikes.
That's a great story.
To force the traffic. To force recognition of bikes, basically. But it was once a week, and it's the kind of thing, I think it happens in big cities too, but I wonder if the pandemic sort of stopped that. I'd be curious to know if it still goes on.
Critical mass.
Critical mass, exactly. Yeah. Critical mass, yeah.
Yeah, critical mass has gone by the wayside. I think it's more about, I think it's kind of become somewhat mainstream that bikes are allowed to be in traffic, and that's become at least more accepted to the point where it's not as much of a movement or a part of the movement anymore. So we were talking about critical mass because its relationship to potentially businesses. Was there some sort of reaction that you saw or have studied or seen to that?
Yeah, not that I can think of. I mean, in the college town, the small businesses in the downtown tend to be pretty supportive of any community kind of activity. So I didn't, some of the tension in Pennsylvania comes sometimes with people on the road, like in the spring in the outlying rural areas. If you're biking, people sort of forgot bikes exist, and they'll be like driving and just not anticipating that there's going to be a bicycle on the side of the road. So there's sort of a re-education that happens every spring in rural Pennsylvania.
Yeah, throughout the United States, I would say. You're listening to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM. I'm Kai Plascon, right on, and this is Forest Briscoe.
What?
You have to do your...
Go. Always forward. Never back.
I'm glad we have a motto for you now.
That's it for Bike Life Radio. We ride our bikes out into the world, and we talk to people about their bikes and their lives. We're made possible by NevadaBike.org, BikeWashoe.org, and KWNK in Reno, Nevada, owned and operated by the nonprofit bike shop Reno Bike Project on Grove Street.